You all know me. My name's Colin James, president of Local 222. I'd like to welcome you all to Oshawa. We appreciate the work journalists are doing on what's a very difficult day for us. Thanks for being here. We'd like to welcome viewers joining us from home, especially our members from across Canada who are watching us live of Unifor Canada's Facebook. We can see your messages of solidarity, and we appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce you to our national president, Jerry Diaz.
I want to start off reading you something, because it gives you an idea of who we're dealing with. September the 20th, 2016. A letter from General Motors to me as a result of negotiations. Dear Mr. Dias, as a result of your deep concern about job security in our negotiations and the many discussions which took place over it, this will confirm that during the life of the new master agreement until September 21st, 2020, the company will not, except as otherwise agreed to by the parties, and we never agreed to anything, close or sell any plant or ongoing business in whole or in part covered by this agreement. So here we go into negotiations in 2016, and we all know what the issue was. It was Oshawa. And we fought like hell, and we made sure that General Motors understood that there would be no closure during the life of the agreement. And you did everything for the last 2 years with the shuttle. You're the #1 plant that they've got, quality, productivity, you're #1 in every matrix. We got a phone call. They set up a conference call for yesterday at 4 o'clock where they wanted to have a discussion. The problem is I got a call at 3:20 from the CBC, hearing rumors that GM was making a major announcement. And within the major announcement, it was going to include the Oshawa facilities. So when we got on the call at 4 o'clock, they said, look, we have to have a discussion with you about Oshawa. So we just got a call from the CBC telling us that you're announcing tomorrow that you have no products allocated for Oshawa after December in 2019. And there was silence on the other end of the phone. And then the conversation started to verify that that was in fact one of the issues that they were announcing. So today, GM announced a major global restructuring, including the closure of 4 plants in the United States. The Hamtramck facilities, the Lordstown facilities, and 2 powertrain operations. We met with GM today, and I'm here to tell you, in what we told them, they are not closing our damn plant without one hell of a fight. Because you see, we're sick and tired of General Motors shipping all of our jobs to Mexico. We've spent the last 15 months in negotiations of a new NAFTA to change the landscape. But of course, we know that the terms don't kick in for a few years left. As we sit here today, let me walk through just a little numbers for you because of what we're dealing with. 5 years ago, we built the exact same amount of cars for General Motors in Canada that they did in Mexico. Within 5 years, if you look at General Motors' projection, which does not have an Oshawa in it, we will be building 190,000 cars in Canada, and Mexico will be building over 900,000. You see, so when GM says that a part of their master strategy is that they build cars where they sell, you know that their comments are completely disingenuous. And why do I say that? Because today we buy over 300, Canadians buy over 300,000 cars a year from General Motors, and we build over 300,000 vehicles a year from General Motors. And if you take a look at the numbers from Mexico, and if you take a look at the numbers this year, Canadians are buying about 45% more vehicles that are made by General Motors than Mexico, and year over year, you look at the Mexican numbers go down. So the question becomes, is General Motors disingenuous when they say that they build the cars where people purchase them? Were they disingenuous when they committed to us that they were keeping the plant open through the life of the agreement? Or was today all about their stock prices and a message to the shareholders? So we've got a problem here, and that's why we're here today. Because if we've got a problem, General Motors has a problem. Because I don't know how General Motors expects that Canadians are going to continue to support them as a country when they clearly have no intention of treating us as a nation and as workers with any respect. So this is time that we had a broader discussion. I had a discussion yesterday with the provincial government. We're flying to Ottawa. I'm likely meeting with the Prime Minister tomorrow, with Colin and Greg, and with our team, where we're going to say to the government that we have to use every trick, every tool. We're going to have to use all of the power of government to make sure that General Motors understands that they're not betraying this country again. Because look at what they have done to the manufacturing footprint in this country. Look at the plants they've closed. Look at the products they've moved from Canada to Mexico. The terrain. They moved the Silverado, our truck. The Sierra, our Equinox. They're building it. We can walk through the different closures. They are going to be building 900,000 vehicles, of which the overwhelming majority were ours. So at some time or another, GM is going to have to understand that we're not going to take it sitting down, and at some time or another, we're going to change things in Mexico because Mexican auto workers that work for General Motors are paid $2 an hour and can never afford to buy the cars that they build, and I say that's a blasted shame. So the message today to General Motors is we are not going away without a fight. You can announce that we don't have a product after 2019, but we can say to you, as you make decisions about reallocating our product, including our Camaro, as you have made decisions that have negatively impacted Canadian workers, you can make different decisions. Because as they have made the decision to move our jobs to Mexico, they can absolutely make the same decision to bring our jobs back. So we will spend the next year fighting tooth and nail. We have requested a meeting with Mary Barra immediately. We have requested a meeting with Gerald Johnson, who allocates production, makes the recommendations to Mary Barra, and we're going to have a very straightforward discussion with them on what needs to be done. Because this is a shame, and it is a crime, and it is a betrayal, and we're not going to accept their decision, not one iota. The only decision that we're going to accept is the decision that they made in 2016 that says that we are going to be building trucks and our plant was going to be staying open for the life of the agreement. That's the only decision that we're going to accept here today. So we will be calling on you. We will be calling on you soon, and we will be calling on you often because this is going to be a challenging time for all of us, including General Motors, as we find the resolution to this situation. But we are sick and tired of being pushed around. We're not going to be pushed around. And we're not going to let General Motors jerk us around. You know why? Because we deserve better, that's why. Nobody's given us anything, we've earned it. We are the best plant by every matrix, we win every award, and we damn well deserve respect. So sisters and brothers, buckle up. We're going to be at it very soon. We'll be in touch with you what the plan looks like. We're going to be meeting with the government. We spoke to the provincial, federal NDP today. We've got everybody working with us. But the bottom line is this is going to be very aggressive, and it's going to be very aggressive soon. We'll be in touch. With that, let me turn it over to Colin. Nope, hold on. Do you want to walk through the meeting today? I thought. Greg Moff is going through the meeting today. That's the whole way we're laying it out.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody in this auditorium. I want to thank the men and the women in the assembly plant that walked out this morning. Yeah. And I have never been more proud to be the plant chairperson in the city of Oshawa. They were not going to lead us in like cattle and tell us what they were going to do to us. We are going to tell General Motors what we are going to do to them. We met with 4 people today from General Motors that have about that much pull. None. The people that are throwing the rocks at us are sitting in the ivory tower on the other side of Detroit. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to get a meeting with them, and we're going to deal with them. But I'm going to tell you another thing right now. We need to stick together now more than every other time in our life. We got a premier in Toronto that thinks it's fair to give us 5 more weeks of UIC. But I think we got a prime minister that cares about Canadians. And it's about time he showed us. And tomorrow we're going to be meeting with him or his people. And I know we can sit here and throw rocks at everybody. And I'm not anybody's fan when it comes to politics. Here's what I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of workers. I'm a fan of feeding families. I'm a fan of going to work every day and doing our jobs. And I can tell you, goddammit, there's nobody in this continent that does a better job than us. We're not asking for handouts. We're asking for what we earned. They asked us to do this. They asked us about BIQ4. How'd we do? Knocked it out of the park. 95% direct run. Highest quality. Been building trucks for less than a year, and we're better than the other 2 plants. And if they think for 1 second they're going to push us into a corner like a bunch of beaten dogs, they've got another thing coming to them. So here's what we're going to do. And this isn't about throwing rocks at each other. You people are going to go in that assembly plant tomorrow morning, and you're going to build the best goddamn cars and trucks in this continent. You need to trust your union. We got a fight ahead of us, and it's going to be a fight. But nothing worth having doesn't come without a fight. So what we're going to do is you guys are going to go in the plant tomorrow, and you're going to do what you do every day. You're going to build cars. You're going to build the highest quality trucks and cars in the industry. You're going to feed your families. You're going to take your kids to hockey. And we're going to stick together. Because at the end of the day, General Motors is putting something in that plant. So brothers and sisters, I want to personally thank you for what you did this morning. I'm going to tell you one thing. It was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do is walk out an assembly line and tell men and women to leave their jobs and go home. But we were not going to be helped. We were not going to get led by the nose. We need to stick together, and I'm telling you, we stick together, we're going to be all right. We start throwing rocks at each other, that's exactly what they want. So I'm asking you as your plant chairperson to go in that assembly plant and do your job tomorrow. We proved our point today. We threw the first rock, and let me tell you, it ain't the last rock. Brothers and sisters, I want you to go back to work tomorrow. You need to trust your union. We're going to fight like hell for this, and General Motors have no idea what they got coming to them. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you very much. Give yourselves a hand. No, I'm sure the press has a lot of questions for us. Actually, what is a press conference? So I'll let Jerry come back up.
Greg,
yes.
No more fucking concessions.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
No more.
I'm going to tell you, no, listen. Listen. I want you to listen to me. I have no interest in a shelf agreement.
We don't want a shelfie.
We're not getting a shelf agreement. We're going to work together, and we're going to keep our plan alive. But just like I said about a minute ago, this ain't a time for dividing. This is a time for sticking together. And we will stick together, and we will get through this. Because nothing worth having doesn't come without a fight. And we need to stick together. But again, it's easy to go on Facebook and throw rocks at the union or at the membership. That ain't going to fix nothing. We need to throw our rocks at General Motors of Canada, and we're going to do that.
All right, just reiterating what Greg said, I'm so proud to see so many people in this room. We need everybody to keep in mind, it's not just about our General Motors workers. We also have thousands of members in feeder plants and our communities that are affected. Right? We need to fight like we've never fought before to keep our jobs. And I think everybody up front here are on the same page. We need our members behind us. I also want to thank all the positive messages of solidarity and support we've been getting from across the country all day.
Okay, are there any questions from the media?
Mark Douglas, 680 News. Sir, what can you do to legally bind GM to maintaining production here?
We have a collective agreement that says they're not closing any of our facilities in whole or in part. So we will do anything by any means to make sure that they live up to their word. Okay. Go ahead, John. Look, I'm not convinced that General Motors understands anything more than just straight brute action. I mean, ultimately, the Canadian government gave General Motors, provincial and federal, $10.8 billion. And there's an argument about whether or not all of that has been repaid. But ultimately, if you take a look at doing the right thing as opposed to shareholder value, it wasn't 10 years ago when General Motors was in difficulty and Mexico didn't give them one dime. So moral arguments don't work with this company. So ultimately, we have a year, and I would suggest a heck of a lot less than that, based on timelines, in order to have them reverse their decision. And we're going to need the federal government, we're going to need the provincial government, but we're going to need Canadians as well to say that we are not going to support a company that doesn't support Canadians. So we're going to have a lot to say over the next little while. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I hear you. Well, I had a discussion, so you all know, with Gary Jones, who's the president of the United Auto Workers. And him and I are going to be meeting on Wednesday. Because we have the same problem. We're dealing with two economies that buy General Motors cars and are losing all of our jobs to the economy that doesn't buy any. So this has been the broad discussion that has transformed over the last 14, 15 months with the renegotiations of NAFTA. So General Motors understands what the issue is, but the bottom line is it's all about their messaging to their shareholders and to their board, because it has nothing to do with us. Think about what happened today. Here's how ridiculous it is. They announced the closure today, and did you read their press release? I never read anything so arrogant in my life. GM talked about all the incredible opportunities of going to AV vehicles, of going to electric vehicles. What an incredible opportunity as we move into the 21st century, but doesn't acknowledge the fact that they're destroying a community here in Oshawa. So it's that type of arrogance that leads to these types of questions. So the only thing that can happen is the federal government and the provincial government, the federal government and the US government are going to have to say that cars that are shipped from Mexico to Canada, United States, are going to have to be hit with serious, serious tariffs. That's the only way we're going to be able to change anything. Hold on. Yep.
What can you do this time to ensure a different outcome?
We are not going to give up by any stretch of the imagination. Look, we are having this conference because A, we're going to meet with our members, but second of all, we are forcing General Motors to live up to their word. And I mean, people will ask the questions about what are you prepared to do legally? We will do whatever it is we have to do to win justice for our members. The bottom line is what makes people think that it's legal for a corporation the size of General Motors to violate an agreement that they just ratified 2 years ago. So if they can violate the agreement, then we can do whatever the hell we need to do in order to get them to live up to their word. Go ahead.
Jerry, Doug from Rogers TV. GM did say in that news release saying that the Oshawa plant is under full capacity, and also there's a shift in changing the vehicles there for like vans and trucks and SUVs. Just your comment on that part.
Say it again.
Sorry. The GM said that they are half under capacity, that plan. Just your comment on that part. That's one reason why they're closing the plant down. And the other plan they did say is that with significant change in buying patterns away from the favorite trucks and SUVs, there are no available vehicles or programs in the gap in the Oshawa Assembly.
Look, there is no question that the market is going away from cars. It's been happening for years. Everybody's buying pickup trucks, crossovers, SUVs. This isn't new. I mean, the industry has been monitoring this for years and have made the type of modifications in order to adapt. The problem is that they've invested all their money in Mexico instead of in Canada and the United States. They are making some investments in the US, obviously, but today's announcements are going to infuriate people as well. But they understand where the changes are going, where the industry is heading, but they've just chose not to make those investments here in Oshawa. But I also want to remind all of us of this. 2 years ago, when we were in negotiations with General Motors, they told us that they were not going to talk product until after we had a ratified agreement. And obviously, we negotiated the Silverado and the Sierra as we went back and forth with the US. So we are not going to move. We need to find a solution. We're going to meet and pass it on. But ultimately, this is going to be an argument not just with Unifor, but it's going to have to involve both levels of government and, of course, Canada in general. That's the only way we're going to get their attention.
Yeah, I'm from Fight Back newspaper. I was just wondering, isn't it easier just to occupy the factory, put it under workers' control, and guarantee the jobs stay here?
It sounds like a great idea. The key thing we want to do is keep the plant open. So we are going to meet, as Greg said, people are going to go back to work, and we're going to meet with Mary Barra, and hopefully we're going to get some answers from those that make the decisions, and then we will make subsequent decisions on what we think makes the most sense. But we'll make those decisions. If we believe that occupying the plant today or staying out prior to meeting Mary Barra and those that made the decision would have been a better move for us strategically, that's what we would have recommended. But as we're here today, we think we're better off getting people back and having a meeting and seeing where that takes us and making the decisions after that.
Arda Zakarian from CP24. What will you say to the Premier when he has said this ship has already left the dock? How will you get him on board when GM has told them there's nothing they can do?
Well, it's interesting because the Premier called me last night and didn't say that. And I was shocked this morning, by the way, when I read the release talking about an extra 5 weeks, because listen, this isn't about an extra 5 weeks. It's not about an extra severance. It's about preserving the jobs in this community. That's what this whole issue is about. And that was my message. That was my message to him last night. That was my message to the Prime Minister's office today. That'll be the direct message to the Prime Minister tomorrow. And we are not going off script. I'm fascinated, though, when I hear, you know, the cliches about I'm here for the people. And then the first thing that happens is say we're going to talk about an extra 5 weeks for EI. Doesn't make any sense.
Ian Austin from the New York Times. Do you have any sense, Jerry, if this plant got hit because they wanted to placate the Trump administration by closing a plant outside the United States?
Look, I can't guess. If it was about appeasing the Trump administration, why would they have closed 4 plants in the U.S.? If they were looking to appease the Trump administration, they would have at least thrown in 1 token plant from Mexico. So I actually don't think they care about Canadian workers, American workers. Frankly, I don't think they care about Mexican workers, or they would pay them more than $2 an hour. They care about themselves. We already told them, we're not closing our plant. We already told them, we're not closing our plant. We've been open for the last 10 years, right?
Jerry, Adrian Gobriel with City News.
Go ahead.
As you've noted, GM today is saying this is a step forward for the company when it comes to the autonomous vehicle, when it comes to building green electric cars. Could something more have been done, or can something more be done to position this plant for the future? Or has that ship already sailed?
You would think that a company that just spent over $500 million on a new line would want to get their value from it. We know what we've got here. We've got one of the best paint shops that GM has globally. They spent $500 million on a new line. So what we need is a product. Because we've already got, I will argue, the investment. Would a body shop help? Of course. Then we wouldn't need the shuttle. So there's going to be a lot of discussions over the next few days and the next few weeks. We'll see how it unfolds.
Hi, my name is Christine Thornton, and I'm a freelance journalist, and I'm working today with Ricochet Media. I actually don't have a question for you. One of the GM workers does, and so I'm simply relaying it. Her name is Allison, and she's very upset today, as are many of the people in this crowd. She wants to know why it is that if the contract only was for 18 months, why is it that this room is full of very surprised people?
The collective agreement was for 4 years, not for 18 months.
So in regards to the I should say the payout or the buyout, is that related to what is
The what?
happening today for tenured employees and staff over 12 years? My understanding is that there was a buyout that was offered
salaried.
to them. Or salary, sorry,
Okay.
rather.
I can't control what they do with the salaried group. All I know is we signed a 4-year deal with no closures, and we expect they're going to live up to it. We didn't
So-
sign an 18-month deal. Frankly, I wish we did. We'd have been in bargaining 6 months ago.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Ian Bix, the Canadian Press. So what is the plan for the people in this room and workers at the plant for the next year? What are you telling them long term as they have to go?
We put out an announcement at 4 o'clock yesterday. And we're going to make sure that we utilize every tool in the toolbox. We are going to meet with those people that can make the decisions because we haven't spoken to them yet. After we meet with them, we are going to continue our internal discussions as to what makes the most sense. But one thing that's for sure, we're not going to sit by idly and build trucks and cars and have them pad their wallets, and at the end of the day, we end up getting screwed. That's where it's at.
If GM does stick with their plan, what comes next?
No, look, I don't know how many ways I have to say this. Ultimately, A, we're not accepting their decision. B, we are going to do whatever it is we have to do to have them reverse their decision. Because as they look at, I don't buy the argument, as their argument today is, look, there's a shift in the market, people aren't buying cars, that I understand. But they have the ability to make decisions. And as they have allocated products made in Canada to Mexico, then there's no reason they can't allocate that Mexico products being allocated to Canada. I think about the Chevy Blazer that is going to be built. There's options, and they're going to have to understand what the options are. Go ahead.
Are the no closure provisions actually in the text of the collective agreement, or they're not a side letter?
No, no, it's right
So
in the
does that give you, I mean, are you able to use the courts to enforce them then?
We'll do whatever we can do to get them to reverse their decision. Okay, let me turn it over to you, Moff. Thank you very much. To the media, more importantly, thank all of you for being here. This is an important day. It's a problematic day for all of us, but I'm telling you one thing. We aren't giving up. Let's get this thing done.
So again, we need to stick together more now than we ever have. You people need to go back in those plants and do what you do best. Build the best trucks and the best cars General Motors makes. We need to stick together, and we're not going to throw stones at each other. That's right. Solidarity! Thank you very much.